Hey guys, welcome to the channel. If you're new here, it's 𝗙𝗶𝗀𝗀𝗃. Thank you for coming. As always, for the subscribers, thank you so much for the love and the support. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. In today's video, this is something that has been ongoing for quite some time, and it's been happening ever since this particular artist broke into the international scene, I would say. Her name is Tyla, and she's from South Africa. But before I even say anything about it, first guys, watch these clips, come back, and let's talk about it.
So black Americans are refusing to call Tyla colored because in America it's a slur. And I don't understand. It's not like we're asking them to call each other slurs. We're not asking them to make songs called Coloreds in Paris, start a group called CWA, Coloreds with Attitude. We're not expecting you to walk around greeting each other, "What's up, my coloreds?" We're not asking Quentin Tarantino to start using the C word in his movies. We respect that you don't use slurs in your daily life. But the world is bigger than you. Black Americans are not the main characters everywhere. The world is not a Tyler Perry movie. This is Tyla's movie, and in Tyla's movie, she identifies as a colored. You can't erase her whole identity to suit your comforts. Be aware. I'm done arguing with people who think Africa is a country.
And there's a conversation going on right now on Twitter that I feel like I want to chime in on because I'm black. And I may not be African American, but I'm black and I grew up in America. And so, again, I'm black. So the singer by the name of Tyla, I believe she makes the song called Water. She identifies as colored. Now, given the history of blacks in America, the word colored is extremely offensive. And there's this uproar on Twitter about in South Africa, they use the word colored and it's not offensive. So here's the thing, though. If you're trying to penetrate the American market and you want to be known for your music as an international artist and you want to be revered on this front and you want a Grammy, you want to be on billboards and you want to be able to perform in this country and really gain momentum, you also got to be aware of culturally what has happened in this country. And you have to be mindful of what it takes to be a black artist in this country and the conditions that come with it. On this front, she's identified as a black woman. They're going to view her as a black woman. They're going to treat her as a black woman. They're going to categorize her musically as a black woman. And that's just the tough and real reality of being black in America. Even Beyonce sometimes is subjected to that treatment. When she was at the Country Music Awards, look how they treated Beyonce, a black woman born in Texas. Look how they treated her. So it's just that what I feel a lot of South Africans are going to have to do is know the history of what it means to be black in America. Let's start there first. I notice a lot of the time that people from Africa have a lot to say about black Americans, which I find kind of baffling because the culture and the art and the fucking relevance that black people have created in America is always replicated. Every single time, from music to fashion to colloquialism, everything you name it is replicated, is remixed, it's repositioned and repackaged and served over and over again. And I may not be an African American because my mother's Jamaican and my father's Haitian. However, I'm black in America. And they don't care about me being a Caribbean or Islander. I'm black. They see me as a black person. That's all they see. You know, ethnically and culturally, I could be all these things I want to be, whatever. But the reality is, when you in America, especially as a darker skinned person, they categorize you and that's it. And you got to deal with that. And you got to work through that. And you got to feel that. And that shit is difficult. So I get it. In South Africa, y'all use the word colored. Great. In America, this is what we do because of the history and it being a negative word and it being something that has brought so much pain to us as black people here. We don't like that word. We don't use that word. It is something that we don't even identify ourselves with because of it.
Will the black diaspora outside of the United States ever get tired of calling black Americans stupid, or are we just going to be doing that forever? Because this kind of discourse around Tyla and her race is getting ridiculous. So Tyla does not identify as a black woman and instead identifies as colored. which is presumably a variation of mixed race in the South African context. And when people saw this caption, people were, getting upset and like correcting. But it's reached this point where it's gone beyond just merely correcting, but basically people just calling out people by name for not wanting to call Tyla colored. I've seen people be like, Americans are so self-centered, they're so obsessed with their own like ideas of race that they can't possibly consider that other places have different ideas about race. And to that I say, could you be any more condescending? Telling Black people that they don't understand race just because our versions of the way how race operates, because the social construct is different, is too far for me personally. Not just too far, it doesn't even make sense, because Tyla is a South African artist, right? But she is clearly trying to break into international markets, which is fair. That's why she's collaborating with Travis Scott, right? If she's coming here, right, like if she's trying to break into markets outside of South Africa, why then would we decenter our understanding of race for this person of color? People are not going to call her colored because that is tantamount to a slur here in like the American conception of race. So we gotta find another way forward, and maybe it can involve like less name calling and calling Americans stupid and demeaning for not wanting to call a girl a slur.
Is anyone else really struggling to see how Black Americans are the ones in the wrong in this whole Tyla colored situation? And I'm not American, to start this off, but countries and cultures all around the world have different racial categorization systems all around the world. Some of them are very different, some of them are very similar. This includes South Africa and America. Both have their own unique racial categorization systems. In South Africa, there's a race or a category called colored, and that's the category that Tyla belongs to. In America, no such category exists. The category that Tyla would belong to would be called biracial, mixed race, maybe even Black. And the term colored is a slur. It's not a race. In America, it is a really violent slur that was used to subjugate their ancestors for years and years and years and years and years. And so I've seen a lot of Black Americans saying, hey, when we're in South Africa, we'll use your system. We'll call her the South African label, colored. We'll respect that. But we don't want to adopt your system and your verbiage in America. It means something completely different here. If Black Americans were saying, hey, South Africans, we're not comfortable with your racial categories, you need to switch that up, we are not comfortable with your labels, you need to adopt ours, I can totally see how that would be completely inappropriate. But they're not. I've seen someone say that, like, we are just not going to resurrect a violent slur with a long history, amongst our people, and reintroduce it back into, American popular culture. We're not going to do that. We're not interested in that. And I totally get it. Just as every other country, every other group, that when you're amongst them, as they say, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. Why isn't the same sort of energy extended to Black Americans? Why them stating, hey, our history, our systems, our labels also need to be respected? Why is that an issue? And honestly, how are they the ones that are overreaching in this situation? They're not trying to get the South Africans to change their verbiage in South Africa. South Africans are upset and trying to get Black Americans to change their racial language and their categories and their labels. And when Black Americans are saying, hey, we've got our own stuff, this is a boundary, this is pretty serious, this is a really serious term, we can't do that, they're considered ignorant and selfish and like they don't know what's going on. And I just really feel like that's not fair.
People started tweeting are saying that they have never seen Travis Scott with a black woman. That's where the problem actually came in, because as South Africans, they see Tyla as she identifies herself being colored, and the fact that Black Americans are not willing to refer to calling Tyla a colored person because it has a bad history. I understood for the context of USA, it's something that was used as an insult to the African ancestors or Black American ancestors, used to discriminate them, used upon their ancestors as a racist word or as a slur, and it has like a dark history onto it. Also, when it comes to the South Africans, it's something that they actually identify with. It's like a racial group, actually, if I'm not mistaken to them. They see themselves as not black and not white, they are just colored. But then also, if I bring it to my context as a Ugandan, I see them as just mixed people, and that's how I try to understand it. And then one thing I took from the Caribbean woman or lady that I staged is that it doesn't really matter how you are mixed with, it doesn't matter which background you have, it doesn't matter which ethnicity you actually have. The moment you step into the American soils, you are seen as a black individual, man or woman. And it's so frustrating to the fact that we Africans expect Black American people to assimilate to our understanding of things, but then when it comes to us understanding them, then we have an issue, especially those that want to force it upon them. I've seen a lot of people in the comments tell Black Americans on how they are selfish, why they want to always push themselves or their agendas on other people. But the thing is, it's this South African artist who left South Africa and is now in the USA wanting to push her career. But then in the area or in the country where she is, people have a negative history on how she identifies herself, and to them how they see her is either biracial or mixed. And to me, I think that is something that makes sense. I feel like I don't want to attack South Africans, but it's like colored people just want to be separate away from the black people. So when Tyla comes in and still refers herself as colored in the USA context, it's like she still wants to separate herself from being black. Yes, they also have people of color. Does she fall in that category of people of color? Please help me understand. Do you have people of color as a category in the USA in nominations? I don't know. Maybe I just don't understand these things. And is she willing to go and fall into that category? Does it make sense? I don't understand how we don't get it as Africans. So that question also comes in. If Tyla is ever nominated in any awards in the USA, where does she fall? And also the question goes to the South African colored people. Are you willing to be called mixed? When people come to South Africa, are they okay to call you mixed? When the Black Americans come to South Africa and call you mixed as a colored person, is that okay? Because that's how they see you in their context of being from America, right? Yeah, we need to have these conversations. And as well, why is it that we are forcing our identities to the Black Americans for them to accept, but we cannot accept how they are trying to explain to us that colored is an insult in their context? It gives entitlement. The thing should be either Tyla has to assimilate to the USA standards, or she just has to stay and live her career in South Africa where she is comfortable to be seen as colored and respected to be that. But let's not force our interests on the Black Americans when in fact we want to push our careers in their countries, in their spaces. And why should you be bothered to be called black? What's the problem of being black? So it's like we need Black American people to put other categories of colored people from South Africa in their categories for them to be able to be seen. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. You cannot go in someone's house and give them the rules on how they should actually treat you. That doesn't sit right with me, especially if these people have given us an understanding of what that word really, stands with them in their context. Let's stop with entitlement, let's just not do that. Who's right and who's wrong? I do think Black American people have a right to defend themselves and to actually speak up on what they don't really accept in their space, in their country, because that's their right and they deserve that. The same way South African people have their rights as well in their country to identify themselves as a specific group, and other people that come into South Africa have to respect that as well. Yeah, thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.